Culture isn't just for big companies. Your team already has one, whether you've planned it or not. 94% of entrepreneurs say a healthy company culture is the key to business success. But most of us don't know where to start. Culture isn't about posters or mission statements. It's about how people behave when no one's watching, and more importantly, how your team behaves when you're not around. Think of the old adage, when the cat's away, the mice will play. Hi, my name's Kathy Doherty and I'm the People Navigator. And if you run a small business or manage a small team, you're in the right place. In today's video, we're looking at 5 simple ways you can create a more positive, healthy and respectful culture, even if you've only got a team of 2 or 3. Your business has a culture, whether you've influenced it or not. Think of culture as your business's personality. Pause and think, would you introduce your business's personality to your mother or the matriarch in your life? Set clear values. Begin by defining what really matters. Don't use vague words like integrity or excellence, because that's almost a given. Try to get beyond anything that seems like the entry level of basic human decency. Now, if your industry has a reputation problem, then those sorts of terms may well have their place. But don't just leave it at the word. You need to explain what that means. If you just leave it at the word, it's open to interpretation. But you will have a specific meaning behind that value. Work out what that actually means. Don't assume people will know what you mean by it and how it is relevant to your organization. And if you're wanting your team to model those values, you need to give them guidance. Don't just leave your values on a poster, on a mug, on a mouse mat, on the glass wall, which usually happens where that is the only place you see those values. There is nothing actually in how people get on with their day-to-day clients and customers interaction, how employees get on with each other. They don't appear anywhere else except for an inanimate object. So make them real, make them achievable, make them mean something. People will bring their own baggage. Your people may well have worked for other organizations who used those terms but meant something completely different. This is where you interpret them. You explain them in a way that means something for you and your business, your environment, your industry. Translate that word into something meaningful and integrate your values into every aspect of how your day-to-day interactions happen with your employees and with clients and customers. Model the tone. So this is where you take those values and you integrate them into how you do things. And it's not just how the business does things, it's how you do things, your own behavior. You lead by example. Your team will look to you to say, are those values real or are they just words? If you're calm, fair, positive, your team will adopt those too. But if you're short-tempered, inconsistent, ratty, your team will look and go, okay, that's how we do things here. Somebody shared a piece of advice that they had received, which was leaders cast a long shadow. So that means it goes beyond, what you do goes beyond what you do. It has a ripple effect on everybody around you, your team around you, who looks to you. I remember delivering a development program for a business who thought that a bit of training would solve their problem until they realized they were the problem. They never figured out until I helped them realize that their own behaviors impacted on everybody around them. They weren't aware that how they entered their workspace in the morning sent ripples throughout the rest of the team. from how they opened the door, how they closed the door, or how they let the door slam after them. They would catapult the door open and it would slam shut behind them. And the rest of the team would go, oh, it's not going to be a good day. And their turnover in staff was above what you would expect. There's normal-ish levels to be expected depending on, you know, the demographics of your team, but this was well above average. And it was because the actual leaders of the business made it a hostile environment and they hadn't a clue that they were doing it. They just carried on with their own blinkers on and didn't think beyond that. Recognize the good stuff. Handing out praise, praising your team isn't the same as giving everybody a medal for participating. It's not that. It's real fuel and a real driver within your business of creating connections between you and your team. A quick thank you for handling that so well. Thank you for. Those have a disproportionate positive impact on your individual team members. It's that pat on the back. It's not assuming that they know that you think they did a good job. There's a lot of space that happens in between, and it's easy to not thank people, to go, oh, I'll do it later, and not to thank in the moment, not to appreciate or take the opportunity when you pass them by or some other further interaction that you give them the thanks. That is a massive boost. Think of how it feels for yourself when you have received that, when somebody has said to you, oh, thank you, I really appreciate that. It's the little, ooh, and we all like that. We all need that. It also then helps to signal to that individual and to anybody who is in the vicinity that these are the kind of behaviors, the values that you encourage, that you want to reward. And it goes beyond the financial. It taps into the human element of it. I would suggest at the beginning of each day or the beginning of each week, remind yourself of the values and make a conscious effort to thank people, to comment positively on where those values have been demonstrated, where the behaviors that you're ideally wanting in the business are demonstrated, where you've got a live action example, because not just that individual will feel the boost, but also the other people looking on. We're human beings. We want a level of approval. We want that acceptance. That will encourage other people around them to see the behaviors that are thanked, that are appreciated. So you're sending out a very obvious but a pleasant signal of these are the kind of things that we like to see and that we appreciate. And that will then encourage others to do the same in their own way. Don't tolerate poor behaviour. One bad attitude or one bad apple can sour the entire bunch. It has that ripple effect. I call them the PMTs, but they're the individuals, the predatory, manipulative and toxic employees, who that's always been them, that's always been their way. Yeah, and they are not always aware of it, but there's a darker element of it. But there's also the individuals who their behaviours they maybe begin from something and the behaviours are never addressed, and it continues and it builds. And if you do nothing about it, it festers and others notice. And if you don't take action, you don't address it in some way, I often say what you don't condemn, you condone. So by you not taking action, by you not addressing it, not only is your silence saying, we approve, this is the kind of behaviours that are okay, others, similar to the thank yous, others will notice, and either they will stop trying because they will say, well, why am I going to all this effort when they're not and nothing's ever done? But also it impacts on you in terms of your reputation as a leader, as somebody who will take action not just addressing a problem, but looking after the rest of the team. So they will look to you and say, well, they don't care about me. They don't care that that person's doing this. They're not addressing it. It impacts on how people view you as a leader and whether they continue to have faith in you, whether they trust you. And that is usually the beginning of the end. Things begin to erode. And that's not where you want to be. Create cultural routines. Integrate these habits as part of the business as usual. Make it part of the rhythm of doing business throughout the day. Don't have these things as add-ons. Make them integrated with everything you do. And usually before you get to that point, you need to create some sort of ritual, some sort of pattern that you and others begin to follow. And then eventually that ritual, that pattern, so initially you will have to put more effort if you're not already doing it. You'll need to put that effort in to create the pattern, to get into it. But the more that you keep repeating it, it then becomes your normal way of doing things, and it becomes second nature. And your goal is always that your values aren't just something written down, that it's nearly a, well, duh, that's just kind of how we do things. Not just from the employee perspective, but also from any clients and customers, that if they look on your website or social media and they see these values, they go, that's what I experience. That is true. And it's not where you find in a lot of organizations where they say this, they do this. You can also use HR software systems, which allow you to give thanks, to do it on a more visible tracking basis. But I would always recommend start off doing it in person in your human interactions rather than using HR software as your go-to. You want to make it personal and personable so it feels real and it feels genuine. Thanks for watching. If you try even one of these ideas, you're already strengthening your culture. What's one value you want to see more of in your team? And what's one value that you don't? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe if you found this helpful. See you next time.